AI can jump in and look at what's happening on the calls and determine what needs to happen in your company rep by rep, automated. It can also analyzing your prospects and your competitors. Even internally with our own company, it's been a tremendous help from teeing up sales, even reactivation campaigns, being able to go into our database. This is the real power is you need a force behind you, like multiple heads, like take a list, like 300,000 people on it and have them attend webinars, all kinds of different things. But what we weren't good about is giving them content and keeping the list warm. So, that's a massive list. Now AI is able to go in and have thousands upon thousands of conversations in the same 5 minutes. I'm speaking from experience, getting a 50% higher confirmation rate, being able to have personal conversations throughout your events, and even the follow-up with the non-buyers that don't buy, but it's starting to make its way into industries all over the world. And once you let the genie out of the bottle with this stuff, you can't put it back in.
So, Brian, for businesses just starting to explore and implement AI for their sales organization, what are the first steps they should take?
I would definitely say...
You are listening to the Best Sellers podcast presented by Doug Dvorak, where the focus is elevating your sales boom. The Best Sellers podcast, your ultimate destination for winning sales strategies.
Good day, Bestseller Podcast Nation. I'm Doug Dvorak, your host on the Best Sellers Podcast. I'm founder and managing principal of the Sales Coaching Institute. Today's topic is AI as a force multiplier in selling. I have the high honor and privilege of having Brian Hanson, CEO of AI for Business. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
It's going great. It's going great. I am really excited, and I know our listeners are very excited. I'm so excited. I've even signed up for your AI for Business Bootcamp, June 5th through 7th. Brian, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and what got you interested in starting a business such as AI for Business.
Sure, absolutely. Actually, incidentally, many years ago, actually probably when I was about 14, I started getting into the sales side. So my longer history is actually in sales and running call centers, things like that. Sales ended up eventually turning me into a marketing guy. To me, they're kind of go hand in hand. Marketing is just a different form of sales, and it just started to pull me in. But I feel like my whole life, even when I was a kid, I was always looking for loopholes all the time. During school with my parents, I was always trying to find an easier way to do things. So the short answer to why AI is over all this time in building businesses and things, I'm always trying to find a better and easier way to do things, to make it more efficient. And AI is the ultimate loophole to so many things that we could never even get into at the tip of the iceberg, even on tonight's call. But ultimately, that's really what got me excited. I get a little burned out always doing the same repetitive things all the time. And so I like to find new and unique ways to generate more sales and leads. And AI is just this endless hole of possibility. And so I've become so excited with AI that I wanted to build an entire brand about it. So it's all I have to do every single day is live, breathe, and eat this topic. So that's all I do every day now is I obsess over the new AI tech and how we can apply it to sales, marketing, and business.
Fascinating. Can you provide a brief overview of how AI is transforming the sales landscape today?
Yeah, so it continues to grow. And for those of you that are keeping up with it, you're seeing this happen. For those that had known nothing about it, AI is one of those things that's rapidly transforming, like by the day, really. Every week, new stuff was coming out, and AI continues to improve. If we rewind the clock, maybe like a year ago, even, it was cool and it did a lot of neat stuff, but it was kind of more of a cute toy at the time. It still did massively amazing things. Don't get me wrong, but where we are today and where we are a year ago are much different landscapes. As far as how it's changing the sales side, I would say if I had to pick one, because there's so many, it's letting you get in front of people to make more closes. I would say over all the years that I've spent in sales, one of the hardest things is to go through leads that are maybe not the best leads, especially if you're running call centers. Nobody wants to call the dead leads, and or even just setting leads. Nobody wants to set, they just want to get on the phone with people that are ready to buy and cherry pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so AI has changed that, where it's able to take all of your leads, whether they're new ones coming in or old ones that have been sitting there dying in your database, and it qualifies them and tees them up for the closer. So it's really good at taking repetitive tasks that nobody wants to do and doing all those for you. But ultimately, I think the way it's changing sales the most is taking over all the stuff people don't want to do and letting them focus on the stuff that they love, by a multitude of things that we can get into tonight. But in a nutshell, that would probably be the biggest thing is teeing up more people that you can sell.
And thank you. And as an add-on to that, what are the most significant advancements in AI technology that have impacted sales strategy in recent years or months?
I mean, the biggest one that comes to mind is definitely chatbots, because chatbots, in particular, like the one we use is called CloseBot. It's made for sales, but you can have conversations with people through Messenger, on social media, through text, through email, and it can remember all the conversations and switch platforms, but it can tee those people up for you. So having those conversations and being able to talk with people on a personal level has just been massive. A long time ago, when all this stuff started, people probably don't realize that AI has been around a lot longer than the last year. It just kind of started getting mainstream then. But then till now, you can't really distinguish if it's human or a chatbot anymore. Some you can. It depends what you're using and how well you programmed it. But the really good bots, it's almost hard to distinguish. And what we found generally are the closers that we have on our sales floors. They're great at closing. If you put them on text or working DMs on social media and stuff like that, a whole different ballgame. And we've actually found the bots sound better than our actual real people in the office. It does a better job. Of course, it's cheaper. And at the end of the day, the sales guys don't want to be doing that anyway. They hate that. So it's just become so much better at actually sounding like a human being and being able to tee up sales. On the voice side too, it's not just chatbots. Voice is really turning around. Months ago, it was really just a couple of real players in the niche, like Air, which a lot of people have heard of, and Bland. But now with ChatGPT 4.0 and other advancements, even the voice side, we're going to get to the point where we really can't distinguish if we're talking to a bot either. A true voice. It's starting to have emotions and not just sound robotic. It'll sit and chuckle at a joke that you say. And, it can read emotions and realize if you're stressed or if you're happy or sad. So it's growing so quickly in so many directions that it's almost hard to pinpoint. As a whole, it's just growing in every direction. I can't even say how fast it's growing because my brain can't even fathom where we are today. I would say probably within the next 2 years, we're going to reach AGI level. It could be sooner, it could be longer. But even the co-founder of OpenAI, which is one of the largest AI companies, believes it's going to be within 2 years. So just to give people a little bit of an idea of what that means for advancement, AI does one specific thing really, really well. So it can do like a single task really, really good. And sometimes you can have agents working together and doing multiple tasks at a time. When it reaches the AGI above the AI level, it'll think at or greater than a human level. And within the next, I believe it's 4 or 5 years, Elon Musk is predicting it's going to be smarter than every human in existence combined. So just trying to get your head around that, like we're in for a massive change in this world. And again, the people kind of following this stuff, and I know you are too, you're seeing it, but it's starting to make its way into industries all over the world. And the loan industry has a ton of AI working inside of it. We have fast food restaurants that are 100% ran by AI, from taking the money and making the food, delivering the food. There's no employees in there. So it's going to be an interesting world. feel like we're in the Jetsons right now, but it's going to continue to change rapidly. Once you let the genie out of the bottle with this stuff, you can't put it back in. So,
and as thank you. That was fascinating. And as a sales person, a sales leader, a business owner, you can't put your head in the sand. The ubiquity of this technology. I was in the first inning of the internet back in 91, 92 with the browser and online and email and, modems. And that was exciting and transformational. But this stymies that by a factor of 100, 1,000, or 1,000,000 fold. It's really exciting. Brian, how can AI be used to improve lead generation and the qualification process?
Well, again, there's just so much to expand on with all the questions you're asking, really. But I think probably the thing that comes to mind from the lead generation side is, well, there's two things. One, outreach. So you can automate a lot of the outreach these days to reach out to prospects that you were doing manually before. This is going to be industry by industry. I don't know what all the listeners, what you guys do. Many people will do outreach and try to find their own target prospects to sell. Now there's tools, HeyReach, which we've talked about, Doug. HeyReach is one where it'll reach out to people on LinkedIn. So it scrapes all the best prospects for whatever the topic is. And then it manually starts to go out and send messages to book the appointments for you. There's Drippy that does the same thing only on Twitter. There's Leadbook that does the same thing only on Facebook. And, there's Task Magic where maybe you're doing something manually. Like I work with real estate investors. They'll come through courthouse records to find people that might be motivated. Maybe they're behind on payments and foreclosure status or going through divorce. Yeah, it's not just that, but Task Magic can literally watch your screen of a repetitive task that you do all the time and basically create an app that simulates the exact same thing and takes over and starts doing it for you. So, I think the big thing is you can automate so many things that people don't really even realize. Like I mentioned Task Magic as an example. It's not necessarily an app that does X. So like it doesn't do like one specific thing, like reach out to people on LinkedIn, for example. It does what it sees you do on your screen. Wow. So AI is just getting so smart that the things that it can do is endless. And again, kind of going back to the beginning of the call, I think what really strikes my mind when I'm thinking about the sales side is it really takes all the stuff off your plate that you didn't want to do anyway and lets you focus just on closing. And to me, and everybody's different, but I feel like the best time to make a sale is right after you just finished making one. Mm-hmm. All you had was a pipeline full of people that want to be closed, and you don't have to talk to all the tire kickers and time wasters. Obviously your income and your production is going to go way, way up. And that's really what I'm trying to do in business at any point, is to focus on the stuff that I love and get rid of the stuff that the daily minutia and stuff I don't want to be doing.
Absolutely. That's fascinating. And loved when you mentioned these specific AI tools and platforms, and the ability to customize the chatbots and voice is becoming almost indistinguishable between technology, AI, and a real human. Brian, what role does predictive analytics play in shaping sales strategy with AI?
Well, if you're talking about kind of the analysis of the calls, I mean, there's different tools out there. They refer to them as conversational intelligence platforms. One that's probably more of the most popular one is Gong. I don't know if you've heard of Gong.io, but it gives you conversation analytics. It provides like coaching opportunities, and it's focusing on improving the overall performance. But it's listening during the call and figuring out like what this rep is doing good, what they're not doing well. It gives them real-time feedback on what they might want to say and improve on. It gives the data to the manager and tells them what they think they should do to help that person improve. It can tell you like what project they should be on based on their talents, so, and that's not just the only one. There's Chorus, there's cheaper versions that I've got off AppSumo, like Sell Me This Pen. But AI can now like listen to all the calls and based on what's being said in real time, give feedback on what you're doing wrong and what you should say. Or you wait till it's over, you know. Sell Me This Pen as an example. Like most of them, you can feed all of your stuff from your business into it. So it knows what you're selling, how you're trying to sell, what your price points are, all that kind of stuff. And it can even do role playing.
Wow.
So if you have new people on, it can go back and forth and have conversations trying to help the sales representative get really good on the phone before they even hit the real calls. And then when they do hit the real calls, it's literally coaching them and being their guide and trying to help them out. It can offer incentives, you know, telling them like, hey, you're almost there, one more sale, and you hit your quota. So it can provide that motivation. I think a lot of people that are not in sales, they think all you really need to do is, you know, give them a good commission and they're going to keep performing because why wouldn't they? The more they sell, the more they make. And we all know that's not true. It's a redundant job that can have burnout. And regardless of if you're commission based, you need to be motivated and incentivized, you know, that you on a weekly basis, really, to have somebody that is just going to want to keep dialing and closing without any kind of interaction from somebody. That's probably a top 3% type person. You don't find those too much. Yeah, I'd say from the analytical side, AI can jump in and look at what's happening on the calls and determine what needs to happen in your company rep by rep, automated. It can also do the same thing with analyzing your prospects and your competitors. So, like as an example, there is a tool called Compete. It's spelled with a K, Kompyte, and it tracks all your competitor stuff. So it'll track your competitors' websites, their reviews, their social media, their ads, their job postings, and even their sales of what they're doing. And it creates battle cards. So when your reps are trying to sell, it'll create battle cards and show like how to close this person. It'll identify the price difference. So if there's a price change in what your competitors offering their stuff for, you'll have that right in front of you and know the differences of both of the companies and be able to create a win-loss analysis for all your calls.
That's fascinating. So, I always learn something. I wrote down Compete, battle cards. That's a great takeaway. So really what I'm hearing a lot of awesome things, but the ability, relatively inexpensive technology that allows you to grow and scale and manage more salespeople. When I was leading global sales organizations, the matrix or the model was a CRO or a VP of sales could manage 8 regionals effectively, maybe up to 10, or a sales manager could manage 8 to 10 reps. Really, you can scale this from 10 to 20 if you have a good tech stack and an AI strategy. Given that, Brian, what are some of the shared challenges sales organizations face when integrating AI into their sales processes?
I think it's more so just the adoption in general. Like, I think there's a worry that like AI is going to replace them, you know, as far as the people on the floor. I think from a management and owner side, it's more of just being unaware. So like when I teach, because I teach a lot on AI and how it works, people are just amazed on what it actually can do. Because there's so many people that really don't feel like AI is even a serious thing. It's a flash in the pan type thing that's going to go away in a few months, and don't really realize how integrated it already is. So, you know, I'd say from the upper level, it's more of just the unknown and not really understanding what it's capable of. Once that clicks for the owners or, you know, the management side, they're like, how could I have ever lived without this? And then once the sales side, once they realize this is an enhancement, and, you know, don't get me wrong, over time, it could be a real worry for even the sales side. I don't know. But at that point in time, because that's probably AGI level, it's a real worry for everybody. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going to happen. Musk thinks that there's going to be a universal high income and you can choose to work or not work because there really just won't be anything to do anymore. So I think the worry part of it is something that it's not like an industry thing. Right now, it's taking advantage of this amazing technology to make a lot more money, regardless if you're on your phones or you're the owner of the company. if you have to start worrying about it, then, we're probably at a point in time where everybody does.
Yeah.
But there will be some shifting. So, there are certain things like, for instance, setting that might go away. But, the people that are currently on phone setting would just turn into closers, and let the AI make things easy. Because the AI, being able to have these one-on-one personal conversations and opening these things up and qualifying, it turns us into a new world where the closing side isn't as hard. Closing is difficult when you have to do a lot of work to get the sale to a close. But if the bot's doing most of that work up front, it's more of just, understanding the process of the closing in your product really well. So maybe some of the really, really big companies, they have positions that lead it all the way up and they work every single lead to the bone. Typically the companies that I work with and see, which are still very large multi-million-dollar corporations, they're not working the leads like they should. It's not that they're not getting called, but the money's made in the follow-up. And AI is able to follow up and follow up and follow up until they decide to get off the list or buy, which we're good with either one.
Awesome. Brian, any ethical considerations sales organizations or companies should keep in mind when implementing AI in sales?
Well, you definitely want to pay attention to what's being said. AI is definitely not 100% perfect. As far as the ethics side, I mean, there's just some things that you can do that it's more of the human decision that's going to get you in trouble. For instance, like there's tools like one that comes to mind is Drop Cowboy, an amazing tool that can do personalized voicemails. So the ringless voicemails, and I'm sure anybody listening that's in sales has heard a ringless voicemail before. It's very powerful. And if you have a list of people that opted in and came to you, this tool can be you and leave messages for everybody with your voice and using their name, which is extremely powerful. There's a lot of tools with AI that can personalize the stuff from you. So it's not just this bot, it's literally you. People will use those to do cold outreach. That kind of stuff's going to get you in trouble. But at the same time, it's nothing new. Like people are doing that kind of stuff with just automated voicemails before AI came along. So I think the biggest worry is just using it in the right way. Because there are things you can do with AI that sure, it can make you quick money, but it can also get you in trouble. So just know the rules of, sales in general, FTC guidelines and all that kind of stuff. And you'll probably be pretty safe. But again, still check and make sure you're listening and looking at what it's saying. Because even aside from the ethics side, sometimes there's just things that you need to tweak. It might be saying something wrong or answering the question a way that you wouldn't have answered it. And you might want to tighten those things up. Right out of the gates, when you first implement AI, just pay a little bit closer attention until you feel like you get it dialed in before you just completely step back and let it take over.
Thank you. Can you share a specific success story where AI significantly boosted a company's sales performance and profits?
Well, I would say just even internally with our own company, it's been a tremendous help from teeing up sales and really even reactivation campaigns, being able to go into our database. Like this is the real power is you need a force behind you, like multiple heads to take a list. Like for instance, one of my lists has 300,000 people on it that did opt in. So it's not a cold list. But they opted in for one of our real estate investing trainings products. And it's just been sitting there cold because we haven't been doing much with it. We sold to it and had them attend webinars, all kinds of different things. But what we weren't good about is giving them content and keeping the list warm. So, that's a massive list. Now AI is able to go in and have thousands upon thousands of conversations in the same 5 minutes. That's using the person's name, talking to them, having a real conversation. Because keep in mind, the AI conversations are not scripted. So we don't write this stuff out.
Right.
They're running on objectives. So I tell the AI what my main goal is, my objective, and the AI knows I got to hit this. But it talks like a human being. And now that we're able to get money out of a list that was just sitting there, that's found money. The other thing too is, just take sales aside. We do a lot of webinar stuff like trainings. And so a big thing when we're doing that is getting people to show up to the trainings. everybody, there's so much noise out there. I heard a stat, and I wish I knew the number because it was astronomical, of how many ads that we see in a single day. And it's in the thousands. It's
4 to
crazy.
6,000.
Okay, so yeah. And so it's just, there's so much going on that people forget, especially if you're having like free stuff where they have to come and sign up. Having a bot being able to go and confirm all those people and make sure that they show up is absolutely insane compared to what we were doing before. And so just in our last one, because I know the numbers, our last webinar, we had 50% more people confirmed to show up than when we were not implementing AI into it. Wow. And that's a massively high number, and can dramatically change your numbers. So I'm speaking from experience, getting a 50% higher confirmation rate, being able to have personal conversations throughout your events, and even the follow-up with the non-buyers that don't buy. I wouldn't necessarily have AI take over high-ticket sales in my company, but it's perfectly capable of doing low-ticket sales. So for a company that's selling high-ticket, it can do the follow-up from the event, find out why they didn't buy. Generally, it's money, because everybody on there was excited and interested. So it can do that stuff, or offer, if they didn't know there's payment plans, it can re-put those guys on the phone with another closer. If they're still interested in the high ticket, our bots figure out how to get them back over to the floor. For us, it's made a dramatic difference in all areas. And some you wouldn't really, for this call specifically, we're thinking like, how does AI help actually close more? It's more so, I think, giving your people more chances to sell themselves. So it's opening up more opportunity. And then going back to kind of what we were talking about before, about a lot of people in sales being afraid of it, it's probably one of the best things that'll ever happen to them.
I agree.
Because they can spend less time with the junk leads and just start closing left and right. And that's what it's been able to do for us.
Excellent. Let's talk about some practical AI advice. So, Brian, for businesses just starting to explore and implement AI for their sales organization, what are the first steps they should take?
I would definitely say getting a chatbot set up for your company is a no-brainer thing to do. But there are a lot of small things that don't require a lot of work that should be considered. So if you're a sales organization, one of the things that you should look at is having it help with script writing. So helping you with scripts, creating follow-up sequences, because a majority of the money is probably made in the follow-up with most sales organizations. So having texts, emails, social, even posts. I find Claude Opus 3 is the best for writing this kind of stuff. Most people have heard of ChatGPT. That's what they actually even think AI is. Don't realize there's so many different tools out there. But the best tool for creating content is actually Claude.
And what is Opus 3? Is that an extension, or is that another?
Opus 3 is the model of Claude that you're using.
Okay, Claude Opus 3. Interesting.
Yeah, by far way better than ChatGPT. And Claude has a lot of backing. So it's a very large company. In fact, OpenAI has had some worries and concerns from employees of safety. Their head of safety, Jan Like, just moved over to Anthropic that owns Claude. So a lot of people from ChatGPT are going over there. But again, yeah, there's small things that you can do. So clear phone calls. It might not sound like a big deal, but maybe you're hiring overseas as well, and they just don't have good internet. That I can't change. But like, if you're a traveler, a CEO, somebody's constantly traveling, and you have to work out of coffee shops, airports, things like that. There's a tool called Crisp, spelled with a K, and it'll completely get rid of all the background noise. It doesn't matter how loud it is. So barking dogs, screaming babies, whatever it is, all they're going to hear is you. There's so many like tiny things that I would recommend doing like that, that really take no time. You can do them all in a day. So script writing, follow-up sequences, to make sure you're doing good follow-up. Even if you're doing it manually at first, just having it. Later, you can go ahead and integrate it into a bot and have that done. But being able to push buttons, get stuff like that on tap is just, it's going to change the game for you. Chatbot, like I said, on the more tech side, integrating one of those is going to be tremendous for you. because it can go into the database. It can follow up with your leads. It tees stuff up. And that makes things a lot easier for you. The actual outreach. So I kind of mentioned some of them before, but you can use a tool like Drop Cowboy to do ringless voicemail that are personalized. You can do personalized videos. There's tools like Tavus, it's Tavus, that do personalized videos, but they're a little bit more expensive. You might want to look at like HeyReach or even Be Human, but you can send videos out to everybody on your list that is a video of you, and it says their first name, and it'll actually, look like you recorded it and sent it to them personally, and you didn't. It makes your lips move. It sounds like your voice, and it uses their name. And so I think all those little touches can really set people up for a lot of success. I don't know how deep you want to go on like how many you should set up, like how many things, because the other thing is also the voice bots and setting something up to do voice stuff. For me, I'd probably, that is as exciting as that one is, it's probably one of the latter things that I would set up, just because voice bots are almost there, but they're not quite there. There still has a little bit of lag. You can tell they're bots. And while I'm very excited about where we've come, I'd guess probably in the next 6 months, whole new level. And you probably won't even be able to tell a difference. But for my company, because I run AI for business, I can get away with it because it doesn't matter if it's a bot. It's funny if it's a bot because I run an AI company. For a lot of the bigger companies out there, you just got to be careful what you use some of this with. And I would also caution, when you're getting into these tools and trying to figure out what you're trying to use, you can go down a lot of rabbit holes. So if I rewind the question and could answer it even in a different way, what you should focus on, because AI can do way more than you think it can. It can do almost everything. Try to figure out the gap that's the biggest gap in your company, and that's what it is. So if you want my real answer of what to start with, rather than just trying to generalize it, the AI itself is this massive rabbit hole that's going to have you chasing squirrels like crazy because it's so exciting. It really is, and you're going to be blown away by all the capabilities, but that's going to waste a lot of time, and you're going to be like, your head's going to be spinning, like, where do I even start? The best place to start is, where could you use the most help in your company? Is it reactivating your leads? Is it getting more sets to your closers? Is it figuring out your price structure of what you should be pricing your stuff at? AI can do all that stuff, but you got to start with where you could use the most help, because there's probably a 90% chance that AI can fix that.
Wow.
And that would be the best place for you to start out with this stuff.
Excellent. Couple of closing thoughts as we end our podcast. What is the biggest misconception about AI in sales that you'd like to debunk?
There's so many people out there touting AI that have no clue what they're talking about, that they kind of tainted the AI perception a little bit. And then you get the people that really don't understand what's behind the scene. All they think it is GPT, and maybe it writes a couple emails. Like, they don't understand the capabilities. It is very powerful, and it isn't going anywhere. So, like, kind of going back to the beginning, the opportunity with this is far, far superior than the .com boom or anything else that you felt like you missed out on. Whether you felt like you missed out on Bitcoin or .com or whatever it is in the past, that it's like, man, I wish I would have acted faster. This is the one. That's more powerful than anything we've ever seen. Like, there's something coming right now that's going to be smarter than all of us in our entirety of humans combined. It's going to be smarter than us. That is not something to overlook. So don't take it as a joke. It is a little bit scary, in the wrong hands without the right safety precautions. I kind of said before, once the genie's out of the bottle, it's out of the bottle. That's why it's so important that everybody builds responsibly. So I'm not saying it couldn't be dangerous, but I'm hopeful that it's not going to be dangerous for us. And I'm hopeful that we can all continue to build and create amazing things with it. Right now, you can do things that you would not imagine that you can do. You can build a website in 60 seconds that looks beautiful.
Wow.
That prior would have taken you $5,000 to have built. And there's tons of sites you can do that on. You can build a more simple one on a site like Mixo, Mixo. I like ZipWP because I really like WordPress for SEO. ZipWP makes a full-blown site. There's tons of them, but you can make websites, you can make graphic ads now. So if you wanted to run ads on Facebook and create something that has words on it that reads really well, there's sites like Ideogram. It's IDEOgram. You could do it with ChatGPT, but it usually gets the words wrong.
It does. It's kind of kludgy. I've tried it.
It gets them right 9 out of 10 times usually. But you can do so many. You can build an app. Like there's a tool called Bubble right now. You can literally create the next Zillow, like the entire Zillow site in less than a week. The way that you can build at speed right now with no code, almost anything you can fathom. I can take a picture of a CRM, like somebody else's stuff, and have it built just by the picture right now, in seconds. I can, and this is GPT, I can go onto a whiteboard and draw what I want to create, and it'll write the code for it. Keep in mind that this is much bigger than you probably think. We have Neuralink now where people are having chips implanted into their brains, and they're taking control of their computer by thought. Like, that's Star Wars. That's the Force. Like, this is really happening with real people right now. So dig in. Make sure you take it seriously, because if you let your competitors get onto this stuff and you didn't, and there's still time, you're still early, they're going to wipe the floor with you. And there's no other way to put it, because they're going to be able to move fast at a very, very low cost, and it'll be precise. Because the tasks, all those little things that I told you that you do that are really repetitive and boring, it can do them on a dime with perfection, like every single time and without mistakes. And it can do that 24/7 around the clock without sleeping.
Wow.
So what it would take like 10,000 humans to do, the AI can do that in 5 minutes, all at once. And so keep your eyes open to this stuff and keep learning and keep staying behind it. It's not perfect yet. But every single week, like I said, it's growing, it's getting better. We expect to see ChatGPT 5 launch by the end of this year. It's supposed to come out this summer. I can't even imagine. I don't know what we're in for, with Sora and the things that I've seen. There's a reason why Hollywood's worried. The kind of videos coming out, we're either going to be capable of creating entire full movies before we know it, with just the click of a button. So
I was having that conversation with a friend of mine who's in Hollywood in the movie business. And you look at all the movie business, then you look at all the cottage industries, set designers, agents. It's just amazing. It's amazing, but they are definitely fearful and mindful of how AI is going to affect their business. Brian, this has been absolutely awesome. I've taken, again, every time I'm with you, I get all these great ideas. Brian Hanson, CEO of AI for Business. Brian, can you share a little bit about your upcoming Bootcamp, June 5th through 7th, an AI Bootcamp, and then tell our listeners about your Facebook, AI for Business on Facebook, please?
Yeah, sure. On Facebook, it's called AI for Business. So it's got a little bot-looking guy in a suit, and it says Real in the background. Real Advisors is one of my other companies. We also have AIforbusiness.com, which is our newsletter. But the Facebook, you can find us on Facebook. It's a group about AI, and you'll find details on our event coming up. Our event's a little bit different. So there's a lot of AI stuff out there. What makes us different is it's kind of like the trifecta. So we're really good at marketing and sales. So we've made an event that combines direct response marketing, regular marketing as well, sales and AI together, because AI really doesn't work that well on its own. There are certain tasks that it can do very well on its own, but generally speaking, if you really want to implement AI in your business, you need to understand how to make it work with the sales and marketing as well. And so we teach all of those things because we're experts at those. We have these events several times a year, and I always have different speakers. So this one coming up, actually, this is probably like a week, right? This one coming up, I have the co-founder of ClickUp, which is a $4 billion valued AI company, one of the biggest AI companies in the world. He's coming to talk about how to use AI inside of your company and manage your AI. Also have a bunch of other great speakers, including Devin McPaul, one of my good friends. He's probably the best prompt engineer in the world. and he does the prompts for ClickUp. He does the prompts for Seamless. He does the prompts for Lavender and all the biggest names. So we have world-class staff that comes, speakers that come and teach the event. This one's going to be free if you want to come as a guest of Doug. You can come in and join our event. No charge for you whatsoever. The Facebook group is also free, obviously. I don't do a whole lot of training stuff inside there, so you want to come to the event to actually get the A to Z. The Facebook group is just kind of update you and keep you up to date on the cutting edge stuff out there in the AI industry. But I'd love to have you as my guest. It's been a pleasure being on here, Doug. I don't know if you have any other questions for me. But
that's awesome. Thank you. Brian Hanson, CEO of AI for Business. So Bestsellers Podcast Nation, please go to salescoach.us/podcast. View, like, and share. Thank you very much, and Carpe Cellum.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
If you made it all the way here, thank you for listening to the Bestsellers Podcast, your ultimate destination for winning sales strategy. We hope you loved this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcast platform to never miss an episode. See you on the next one.